Hello. How y'all doing? It's funny, the last couple of times I've done No Name here with Eric, thank you again for having me back, amazingly. I've told stories about the year that I lived in LA, and I had forgotten about the theme and was preparing to tell another one, and then I got here and realized that that would be awful. Because I live in Inwood, I've lived there, because I can't do math, I'll just say since 1997? However long ago that was, you can figure that out. And I love it. And so I'm going to tell a little story about a time that I actually moved back to Inwood from away. And it's also a roommate story, because everyone loves a good roommate story in New York. So it goes a little something like this. When I woke up on New Year's Eve, 2008, I was reasonably sure that I would probably be dying shortly. My apartment was full of people. People I did not know, people I did not invite, and people I was reasonably sure were coked up out of their brains. Let me explain how I got here, because it's really my own fault. Looking for an apartment in New York makes you the worst person in the world. That is a flat-out truth. Everyone knows it. You are a horrible person when you are looking for an apartment in New York because it's so desperate. It's so difficult. I had moved out of Inwood from the apartment I lived in for 8 years. I had bounced around a couple places. I lived in the projects in Harlem. I lived with my parents. And I had finally found my way back to my buddy's one-bedroom apartment on Broadway at 207th Street. I was subletting from him as he finished out his lease. He had left that apartment, which was roach-infested, but otherwise very nice, to move back to New Jersey with his soon-to-be wife and soon-to-be couple of kids. And I thought, okay, this will be a good place to get myself resituated, reacclimated to Inwood, reacclimated to living here, and it was great. I was right across the street from Keenans Piano Lounge. Y'all remember Keenans Piano Lounge? Oh my God, yes, thank you. It's gone so long and I miss it so much. It will come back again. Just remember Keenan's Piano Lounge. It'll come back again. And I started going to the Piper's Kilt once again and started going to their karaoke nights, and it was great. I felt like I was home, but I needed to find somewhere else, and soon, because the sublet was running out. And I found on Craigslist someone who lived right around the corner on Seaman. It would be super easy and super great, and it was cheap, and I went to look at it, and I instantly thought, this person's life is falling apart. They may not know it, but I know it. I met this lovely young woman, she was maybe 21, 22, who was living there in this two-bedroom apartment, tiny little two-bedroom apartment, but redone, nice. And she was telling me how she'd been at Amherst, met her girlfriend at Amherst, they'd moved to New York, and now it wasn't going so well. They were living in this apartment together, but they were splitting up. And she was going to move out and probably go back to Amherst and hang out for a bit and regroup. And so she wanted to get out of this apartment and was offering an incredible rent and wasn't going to do a background check, a credit check, wasn't going to do anything. All I had to do was show up with the money. And I thought, you are only doing this because you've broken up with your girlfriend in this relatively tiny apartment and you are not doing well here. So I'm just going to take advantage of that. That's fine. My fault. Terrible person. So I take advantage of her, not like that, and move in. And all the time that we're talking, I'm like, okay, so you're moving out and I'm going to be subletting your room. So I'm going to be living here with someone else. And she's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. Where's that other person that I'm actually going to be living with? And she's like, oh, I think she's got a new girlfriend in Brooklyn, so she's over there a lot. But I'll call her and I'll make sure you guys meet before move-in time. And every time I talk to her, I'm like, so can I meet Scout? Is that her name, Scout? Yeah, Scout. Yeah, when can I meet Scout? She was just here. You just missed her. I'm like, this is, your life is falling apart. So, okay, I'm okay with that. This is going to be fine. This is totally going to be fine. I can live with anyone. It's going to be awesome. And so the girl that I met, her name was Tammy. She left, and I moved in, and I was younger then, a little more sheltered. I did not know that women could be so dirty, so filthy. The place was a mess. This woman left half of her stuff in my room, including a box of keepsakes and mementos from her time at Amherst, dishes in the sink that had been there for weeks. It was awful. I cleaned up, and I was not the cleanest human being. This changed me. Moving into this apartment changed me. And it was great, actually, at first, because I moved in, and I cleaned. The refrigerator door was hooked up in this weird way in the tiny Inwood kitchen, so it kept banging into the counter. And I flipped the hinges on that shit myself. It was awesome. I felt like this is a real apartment. I bought a coffee table from Target and put it together myself. This is great. All the while, I have yet to meet Scout, my other roommate. But I'm like, this is fine. She's got a girlfriend in Brooklyn. This is great. I've got the place to myself. And then I meet Scout. And Scout was fascinating. I haven't seen her since. God knows. We still get emails. She was a lesbian, former beauty queen comedian. She was like 17 feet tall and southern and funny. And she told me that every single thing I knew about the person I sublet from was wrong. Her name wasn't Tammy. It was something else like Chris. She didn't go to Amherst. She just hung around Amherst. And that's where she'd met. They'd broken up almost immediately once they moved in. And she could not wait to be away from her and this apartment any sooner. And I was like, okay, well, I'm here. I've invested. I moved the hinges. I bought furniture. We'll just find another subletter. And it'll be great. It'll be fine. It'll be great. It'll be awesome. So Scout goes out to Craigslist and finds a subletter. God, I don't even remember his name. I have blanked his name out. He was a chocolatier from Rochester, New York. He was also, oddly, 17 feet tall. I'm not very short, but he was huge and definitely somewhere on the spectrum. He was the kind of person who would talk to you the second you entered his presence. He would start talking about whatever was happening in his brain. And he would continue talking until you left his presence. Then he would fall silent. I could hear him because the walls were all paper thin. And then once you re-entered his presence, no matter how long it had been, he would start right back up where he left off. No matter what you were doing. In those years, and this shames me, deeply invested in the show Heroes. Do you guys remember Heroes? I was in deep. This was like second season when there was still the hope that it could finally be good again. It wasn't. But it was my thing, and he would talk all the way through, like an hour-long monologue about him and chocolate and Rochester and whatever else was happening in his brain, which was, okay, whatever. I was like, I'm just going to get through this. I started thinking of this apartment, though, as the Chaos Estates, because things just kept going wrong there. I locked myself out 3 times. 3 times. I've never locked myself out of any apartment before or since. There was a bad juju happening in this place. That only got worse when my roommate discovered Keenan's Piano Lounge. Told you it was coming back. And if you do remember Keenan's Piano Lounge, it was like the diviest of dive hells that you could imagine. It was the bar that time forgot. It was perpetually 1976 in Keenan's. And there was so much coke, so much cocaine on the bar, everywhere you would went. I never partook, but if you wanted it, that was the place to go. And my roommate wanted it. And he started going to Keenan's all of the time. And this has only been like a month we're living there. And now I'm living with a cokehead. And such a serious cokehead that he's recognized he's got a problem. And he's decided that he might want to move he might want to get out of this apartment because it's bad for him. His options are moving back home, or moving to Bushwick, Brooklyn, where he'll be away from the cocaine. And I didn't have the heart to tell him. I just couldn't. I couldn't hurt him like that. So here we are, New Year's Eve. I've gone out, had a regular, normal New Year's Eve. I stumble in home at like 2, a reasonable time, drunk, pass out, and at about 4 in the morning, all of these people show up because my roommate did New Year's Eve at Keenans and brought everyone who was left at Keenans, so the real cokeheads, back to our apartment for the after party. And I don't know what they had planned. I don't know how this was going to turn out, because I woke up and was like, I cannot be stuck in my back bedroom while this is happening. And there are things in this apartment that belong to me. So I went out and joined the party as like a chaperone/bouncer. I may have stopped a gangbang, or something. And then we all had to leave. And I have to leave as well. This has been great. You were an awesome audience. Thank you. Good night.
I want to hear the rest of that.
Oh my God.